On July 20th, 1969, two human beings stood on the surface of another world. 600 million people, one-fifth of all humans alive, watched it happen on television. It was the most watched moment in human history, the greatest achievement our species had ever pulled off. But what if it hadn't happened? What if the rocket had failed? What if the funding had dried up? What if we had looked up at the moon and decided it wasn't worth it? What if, then would? In 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik, a basketball-sized metal sphere, into orbit. America panicked. If the Soviets could put a satellite in space, they could put a nuclear warhead anywhere on Earth. The space race wasn't about exploration. It was about survival, about proving that democracy could out-innovate communism, about national pride forged in the fire of Cold War terror. President Kennedy stood before Congress in 1961 and made a promise. Not because it was easy, but because it was hard. America spent $25 billion, equivalent to $280 billion today, to fulfill that promise. 400,000 engineers, scientists, and workers built the Saturn V rocket, the most powerful machine ever constructed. It stood 363 feet tall. It generated more power at launch than 85 Hoover dams. And on July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong stepped off a ladder and into history. But what if Kennedy had never made that promise? It's 1961. Kennedy addresses Congress, but instead of committing to the moon, he proposes a joint U.S.-Soviet space program. Cooperation instead of competition. It sounds crazy, but Kennedy actually floated this idea to Khrushchev in real life, and it was rejected. In our alternate timeline, it isn't. Without the competitive pressure of the space race, the urgency evaporates. Space exploration continues, but slowly, carefully. Without the massive government investment that forced technological breakthroughs at an impossible pace. The Apollo program never happens. The moon stays untouched by human footprints. Here's what most people don't realize about the moon landing. The technology it created didn't stay in space. The Apollo program directly gave us scratch-resistant lenses, memory foam, freeze-dried food, water filtration systems, the basis for CAT scan technology, and the integrated circuit, the microchip, that every computer, smartphone, and modern device runs on. Without the space race forcing the miniaturization of electronics, the computer revolution is delayed by at least a decade, possibly two. No miniaturized chips in the 1960s means no personal computers in the 1980s. No internet as we know it in the 1990s. No smartphones in the 2000s. The entire digital world, every app, every streaming service, every piece of social media, is built on technology that traces its roots back to NASA's desperate need to fit a computer into a rocket. In this alternate 2026, we are living in something that looks more like 2006. No iPhones, no streaming, slower internet, less advanced medicine, all because we didn't go to the moon. But here's what changes geopolitically. Without the moon landing, the Soviet Union never gets the message that it lost the space race. The Cold War doesn't have its defining symbolic moment. Does the USSR survive longer? Does the Iron Curtain hold through the 1990s? In our timeline, the moon landing was proof, broadcast to the entire world, that the American system worked. That free people with the right resources and will could do the impossible. Without that proof, the ideological battle of the Cold War plays out differently. And here's the most haunting butterfly effect of all. Stephen Hawking said it plainly. Humanity's long-term survival depends on becoming a multi-planetary species. Earth will eventually be hit by an asteroid, consumed by the sun, or made uninhabitable by our own hand. The moon landing was step one of that journey. Without it, we're still on step zero. Every week we ask 7 questions. What if? And this week the answer is clear. Going to the moon wasn't just about the moon. It was about proving what humans are capable of when we decide something matters enough to make it happen. That decision rippled through every piece of technology you touch today. That's what if, then, would. Tell us in the comments, was the space race worth it? And subscribe, because next week we go somewhere even further.